Hi everyone, Lee here again to show you how to make this cool, one-of-a-kind crouching wolf figurine. But before we start building, let's go over our tools. We're going to be using hot glue. Now, with hot glue and the glue gun, I always recommend to be careful of that tip. You don't want to get burned. Now this wolf is primarily paper mache at the core, so we're going to be using their same old standbys that we use anytime we do something with paper mache. That would be paper mache paste, which is, of course, for me, a glue and water mixture. You can use flour and water, that works as well, but the glue and water tends to be easier for me to store. Masking tape. We'll be using the masking tape to bind our pieces of newspaper together before we layer the paper mache on it. I will also be using aluminum wire. This is also called floral wire or crafting wire, and you can get it for a couple dollars at any craft shop or hardware store. I also am using some doll eyes. Those are 5mm doll eyes that I happen to have laying around. If you don't have them, you can actually just paint the eyes on the figurine. Newspaper, and plenty of it. Aluminum foil. We're actually going to be making the legs for the wolf out of the aluminum foil. Paintbrushes, you're going to want a couple different sizes. And paint. Now you can use any colors you want. I happen to be going with a gray, a black, a white, and a fuchsia. And I have a couple of tools here. One's the back side of a small paintbrush and the other is actually a sculpting tool. And we're going to be using some paper clay, and that's just going to be squishing the paper clay around. And speaking of the paper clay, there we are. And as I've said before in other tutorials, you can find tons of recipes for this online. I would pick the one that looks like you want to make the most, and then just tweak it so that it's functional and versatile for you. I tend to like a moist, squishy clay when I'm working with paper clay. Okay, for the wolf, if you notice the tip of his nose, and you can kind of see a bit of a shine in his eyes, to achieve that we're going to be using good old clear nail polish with a high gloss. And that'll put a nice shine on that. As you can see, just check out that nose. It looks wet, and that's what we're going for. Okay, as you see, I'm balling up the newspaper, and I'm going to be making an oblong shape. And this is going to be the body of the wolf. Once I get it taped down the way I like it, we're going to start laying some paper mache over it. Here we go. And just little pieces of newspaper, layer by layer. I want to get it on as smooth as possible. And I'll actually be building about 6 layers or better. That covered and patted down nicely, I'm going to be starting the next segment of the body, and that'll be the rear joint where the back legs will connect. And as you see, this time I'm making more of a ball shape. And again, we're just going to cover it layer after layer. start getting enough layers on there, I'll start kneading it around in my hand just to get everything on there good and tight. And then once I get that the way I like it, I'm just going to set them aside to dry, and we'll start setting up the legs. I'm tearing off thin strips of tin foil, and then I'm just kind of wadding them up into little sticks. Once I got two that I like, we're going to start shaping the wolf legs. And once you got them the way you want them, start rolling some masking tape over the long parts. That's just going to help firm it up a little bit. And it's also going to give something for the paper mache to stick to. As you see on the bottom there, I extend over a little bit just to kind of give a hint of the foot. And the same idea with the other two legs. And if it helps, you can just check out online, look at some pictures of wolves or dogs. And same idea with the tape. Okay, now for the feet, I cut out 3 small, evenly sized pieces of the aluminum wire, and I lay them out on a piece of tape, and then I fold it right over the foot. And I do that for both the back legs. You can do it for the front too. I didn't bother. And as you see with those feet, I'm just kind of spacing them out and putting a little bit of tape on the edge of each toe. And then we're going to start the paper mache over the leg and the foot. Same ideas with the body, just go over it over and over again. You're going to want to work with some smaller pieces of paper when you're getting around those toes, and don't get discouraged if paper slips off. Just keep working at it. It will come together, and it will dry and hold eventually. You can kind of see that even I had a little bit of trouble with it. And once you get the toes covered, you just kind of overlap on the foot a little bit to hold everything together. And again with the other leg. Okay, once I get them the way I like them, we'll set them aside and start working on the other legs. And again, I didn't put the claws on the front legs because I was going to make the paws bigger anyway, and that gives me a little more space to work with, so I was able to use some pieces of clay to actually shape for the front legs. To the side to dry. Now we're working on the front legs, layer after layer. The thing about a project like this is you'll definitely have logged some time in layering paper mache. Completely covered, they will also be set aside to dry. Once these have dried, we're going to break out the trusty glue gun. Okay, and as you see, we're going to glue the rear legs to that round shape we made, and then we're going to glue all of that to the oblong shape, the wider end of it, and then we're going to put our front legs on the other side. And if you make a mistake, don't worry, you can just carefully peel the legs off and switch them around. As you saw, I had to get up to get a refill there for the glue gun. Okay, now you can kind of bend the legs a little bit, get them how you like them. I noticed he was actually standing a little tall for my liking, so I pushed him down a bit later. Okay, now we're going to do a roundish shape and put a little, almost like a beak on it right now. And this is going to form the wolf's head. As you can see, I got the round back with kind of a triangle jutting out. I'm going to paper mache over that. And then I took a little bit of tin foil for the tail. And same technique, cover it in tape, shape it the way you want it, and see, I pinned it right to the wolf's body. I've hollowed out the head, and then you glue the pieces right on for a neck and head. Now, paper clay. You're just going to take your paper clay and just start going over it. And if it helps, do a section and then let it dry for a day or two. Too much, you might actually cause your figurine to collapse in on itself. So, little by little, work with it and let it dry as you go. As you see, it's beginning to look like a wolf now. And once you get some clay on the head, go ahead and push those eyes in. And I even kind of started the ears. And a little bit on the underside. You just want to get everything covered. Even the tail. Like I said, I let the back dry before I coated the tail. Claws were one of the last things I did as well, because I wanted everything pretty much looking the way I wanted it to before I started working on the claws. And if you get to an area where you kind of get stuck, go ahead and use your tools. Push that clay right in. So keep working around the feet. Take a look at it. If I don't like it, I rework it. Okay, once everything's dry, we break out our paint. And I actually go over the whole thing with a fuchsia. And that's just, kind of creating a muscular layer. And then I take some black paint and water, make a wash out of it, and just cover it. And that sinks into all the dark areas. And then I go over the whole thing with a gray. Once the gray's dry, I go ahead and do some minor detailing, the nose and the claws. And then we mix some black and gray together. Kind of put a little dark stripe along his back, right down the bridge of his nose. And then we do some lighter grays to kind of highlight. Now we're going to flip it over, and I'm actually going to give him a light colored belly and the bottom of his legs there as well. Okay, once that's dried, I actually just kind of took a Q-tip and brushed off his eyes and put the shine on his nose. And there he is. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial, and please try this and let me know what you come up with. I'd love to see other people's handiwork. Thanks again for watching, and have a great day.